Hi everyone, today I'll be taking you through a very quick recipe. It is a childhood treat of mine that is very well known in Argentina, and they are hojaldradas. All we really need is 2 sheets of puff pastry. The pastry needs to be a little bit defrosted as we will be joining the 2 sheets together. If they're frozen, you'll find that they won't stick very easily. Leave the plastic lining on the 2 sheets for now. We'll remove one when we need to cut the pastry. To join the sheets, we use a rolling pin. You don't need to apply a lot of force. We don't want the pastry to become one big pastry. They just need to be lightly joined. Make sure when rolling you go to the very edges as well. A little tip is to roll twice on one side, rotate, roll again 2 times, and that usually does the trick. You can check if the pastry is joined by lightly trying to separate it and it feels like you might tear it a little bit. Once the pastry is nicely joined, we need to go ahead and cut into size. We only need to remove the top film at this point. You can use a ruler if you want to measure and get perfect cuts. I am simply just going to eyeball it. Traditionally they are cut into rectangles, but if you want to cut the pastry in other shapes, you can, there's nothing stopping you. When cutting, we need to make sure that we're not slicing across the pastry and that we're simply cutting down into it. If you have access to a sharp and flat knife, I would recommend you use that. If you slice the pastry, the edges will tend to join and we won't be able to separate the 2 parts when they're cooked. For the tray, I'm using a ceramic reinforced sheet, but that is not necessary. Just make sure that if you are not using one, they use a sheet of baking paper because the pastry will stick to the tray otherwise. Allow about 1 centimeter between each pastry. They do expand just a little bit while cooking. We will be cooking them in a preheated oven at 180°C for about 20 minutes. This will be dependent on your oven, so do keep an eye out. The pastry would have risen just a little bit and be crisp and golden on top. You can let them rest a little bit, but otherwise we can go straight into cutting them so we can fill them up with Dulce De Leche. You will see a visible seam on the side, and that is where you want to cut. It's not a hard pastry, so this should be really easy to do. I'm going to be using a piping bag to fill the hojaldradas. This is definitely optional. For me, it's just easier this way, and they tend to look just a little nicer and fuller this way. The amount of filling really is dependent. With our Dulce De Leche, we can add quite a bit and still won't be too sweet. Dulce De Leche is a traditional way to do an hojaldrada, but again, you can choose to add something else as a filling if you like. To finish the hojaldradas, we'll sprinkle them with a coat of ice and sugar, and they're ready to be enjoyed. Thank you all for watching this week's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment if you like. With that said, I will see you all next week.